Good afternoon. I'm Trevor Jones, Associate Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. I want to start off by thanking the staff here at the Provincial Emergency Operations Center for hosting us today. I'm pleased to be joined by our Premier, Premier Ford, and our partners as we provide an update on the work we're doing to modernize emergency management across the province. Prior to being elected MPP for Chatham-Kent-Leamington, I spent most of my career as a provincial police officer with the OPP and spent time on the OPP's emergency response team. During that time, I had the privilege of serving and training alongside some of the most exceptional first responders, experienced leaders who know how to stay cool under pressure, communicate clearly, and adapt to any situation that comes their way. Our first responders are both capable and caring. It's our responsibility to provide the tools and supports to allow them to get the job done. This is why I'm so pleased to be here with you today. Earlier this week, our government introduced the Emergency Management Modernization Act. If passed, this bill would modernize how we prepare for and respond to floods, fires, and other emergencies by strengthening provincial leadership and coordination with our community partners. The proposed legislation builds on the government's Provincial Emergency Management Strategy and Action Plan. This plan is about action, not words. We're making sure Ontario has the leadership, tools, and coordination to stay safe, practiced, and prepared before, during, and after an emergency occurs. Our goal is clear: to make sure every community in Ontario is ready for whatever comes our way, including the unexpected. With that, I'd like to now welcome Premier Ford to the podium to discuss the next steps we're taking towards our goal. Thank you. Premier.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Trevor, for that introduction. And I'm so thrilled to be here alongside Minister Trevor Jones, you just heard from. And Trevor, I got to thank you for your years of service with the OPP. You're an absolute champion. My other champion, you performed incredibly well. Just a week ago when it hit the snowstorm hit Gravenhurst, Minister Graydon Smith and Deputy Minister Bernie Darrell. And Bernie, thank you for your leadership as well, that served over in Afghanistan for a number of years, and I just want to thank you for your service to our country. Before I get started, I want to thank everyone here at the Provincial Emergency Operations Center for hosting us today and for the amazing work you do year-round to keep people safe, prepared, and supported during emergencies. I also want to welcome representatives from our partner organizations here today. Tim and Brian from Team Rubicon, Major Zielinski from the Salvation Army, Stefan and Raul from Global Medic, Carolyn and Adelaide from Feed Ontario, and Bruno from the Ontario Search and Rescue Volunteer Association. Thank you all for joining us today and for the great work your organizations do to help communities during emergencies. As Minister Jones noted, in the face of natural disasters and other emergencies, we're working to make sure Ontario is prepared so we can keep our people and our communities safe. That's why our government is investing $110 million over 3 years to strengthen emergency preparedness and response across Ontario. Earlier this year, we announced plans to update our emergency management legislation, the first major updates in 15 years. And today, we're taking another significant step. I'm thrilled to announce the launch of Ontario Corps. A new volunteer organization that the province can deploy to help communities respond to natural disasters and other emergencies, inspired by successful models like AmeriCorps, or Ontario Corps brings together skilled professionals, volunteers, non-governmental organizations, and First Nations partners to deliver critical on-the-ground support. This includes providing services such as emergency shelter, debris management, food services, and flood protection delivered by great partner organizations, including those here with us today. Earlier this month, we piloted Ontario Corps following a massive snowfall in Gravenhurst, as I was mentioning earlier on. up in Graydon Smith's area in Gravenhurst, the Salvation Army, Global Medic, Feed Ontario, and other search and rescue volunteer association were deployed to help the town conduct wellness checks on residents, provide food hampers, and support a municipal warming center. That's a great example of what Ontario Corps will do in communities impacted by extreme weather events or natural disasters. It's going to be a game changer for emergency management in Ontario, and I just absolutely love the logo, nice and clean. Today, we're also announcing that as part of our plan to modernize emergency management, we'll be establishing a new Ontario Emergency Preparedness and Response Headquarters. This state-of-the-art facility will be located on surplus government property on Disco Road in Toronto, close to Pearson Airport. It will be a center for coordinated, enhanced responses to emergencies, with dedicated training rooms, storage, warehousing, and aviation infrastructure built to withstand all types of disasters, including earthquakes, tornadoes, and floods. Additionally, we're partnering with Northern College to establish a regional emergency hub in Timmins to strengthen local response capabilities and enhance emergency readiness in Northern Ontario. Before we finish, I want to take a moment to encourage everyone, whether you're a skilled professional or someone who's just considering getting involved for the first time, to join Ontario Corps, to be part of one of our great partner organizations. If you're interested, I encourage you to visit www.ontario.ca/Ontario Corps. That's www.ontario.ca/Ontario Corps. Signing up is easy, and you'll make a real difference in the lives of people impacted by emergencies. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
We will now go to media questions. Reporters, please come to the mic. Please identify yourselves by name and outlet. It'll be one question, one follow-up. First reporter.
Thank you. Mark McAllister from City News. Premier, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
If you could, obviously this is an announcement about a training center, another headquarters,
Yes.
Obviously lots of equipment to help these organizations out, but these are still volunteer organizations. Is there any money that can be flowing into these organizations that have often needed it, and some of the people that are going to be working for them?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I want to thank each and every one of them. We're always there to support them. And as we move forward, we'll look at funding mechanisms to make sure they're strong, but also the emergency management provincial staff as well. Since I've been in office, we've faced everything, obviously the pandemic, but flooding up in the north, up in Bracebridge when Graydon was there with me when he was the mayor at the time, or over in Ottawa, the tornadoes that hit Ottawa, and also outside of Toronto, hurricanes. There's been a lot of natural disasters. And I've noticed one thing when I'm on site. All the community comes together. They go to the community center. People are helping out, but there's no central organization organizing everyone. And this will be the central organization that helps folks right behind me be coordinated. And I just appreciate everyone's support. So this is going to be a great venture. And please, if you want to volunteer, and it doesn't matter how old you are, starting from 14 up to 100 years old. When I go into the situation that I mentioned about community centers, do you know who I see making the food? I see the seniors out there making the food. And as for young people who can fill sandbags, young people are strong. They can fill sandbags and do errands that we need. So it's all ages.
We've got a number of questions about the topic of discussion over the last few days,
Yes.
and the idea of tariffs and counter tariffs on Ontario's part.
Yes.
One thing that has been discussed is the LCBO not buying American alcohol. Is that something that you're considering, and would that, how far do you go with something like that?
Well, we'll use every tool in our toolbox. As we put a tariff on bourbon last time, LCBO is one of the largest purchasers of alcohol in the entire world. But I'd prefer not to do any of this. I'd prefer to make a deal. As I mentioned, there's two areas that we can move this forward a lot quicker. Making sure we secure our borders, it's absolutely essential. And secondly, make sure that we hit our 2% commitment to NATO. We're about 1.4% right now, so we should be able to achieve both those goals fairly easily. And we just want to make a deal with the U.S. It was the first time President-elect Trump said, I want to make a deal with Canada. That's good news. And with the energy that I mentioned the other day, that's another tool. But would I rather send them energy? Sell them more energy? Absolutely. I spoke to both governors from Michigan and New York. They fully understood where I was coming from. But again, my comment to the two governors yesterday, we want to sell you more energy. We want to make sure that we sign this deal. We want a fair trade. The problem, again, is not Ontario. It's not Canada. It's cheap Chinese parts coming in through Mexico, slapping Made in Mexico stickers on, taking American and Canadian jobs. That's their focus they should be focusing on, not their greatest ally and partner in the entire world.
Afternoon, Premier Elaine Harrison, CBC News.
Hi, Elaine.
So sticking on that topic of energy, Trump responded to your energy threat yesterday saying, that's fine, go ahead and do it. What is your response to the President-elect?
Well, what you didn't hear on the tapes after, he says, I really want to make a deal with Canada. That's the first time he's ever said that. And I respect the position he's coming from. I'm sure he respects the position we're coming from. As he also mentioned, he has lots of friends in Canada. Well, we have lots of friends in the U.S. That's the reason we need to make a deal, because we're part of the family, the larger family. 900,000 Americans live up in Canada and 800,000 in the U.S. Canadians live down there. Millions of people cross the border every day. I was speaking to a congressman in Florida, and I just reminded him, Canadians own $90 billion with a B, $90 billion worth of real estate. 3.2 million visitors visit his state every single year from Canada, and they pay $1 billion in taxes. But every congressperson I speak to, or governor or senator, I'm not hearing the same thing as what I'm hearing from the president. So I'm hearing, let's get moving, let's make a deal and get this done. And we'll get through it. So there may be a few bumps in the road. We just have to be prepared.
And on the Team Canada approach, previously you said there was consensus among premiers on things like the need for a new bilateral trade deal with the U.S. or increases to defense spending, but other premiers this week have been disagreeing with you now on the best way to handle Trump, particularly the threat of retaliating by cutting off resources and energy supplies. Does it undermine Canada's position to have these disagreements on full public display? And why did you float that idea without talking to the others first to make sure you were speaking for the team?
Well, let's clarify what you just said. It was very clear that all premiers believe we should hit our 2% when it comes to NATO. So we're all in agreement. We're all in agreement, every one of us are in agreement that we have to tighten up the borders. Where we differ, I was speaking very clearly for Ontario, and I still speak for Ontario. I don't speak for the rest of the country. That's up to the premiers, and we'll be getting together this weekend on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But, if it comes to Alberta or Quebec, that's their choice. They believe in diplomacy. Good luck. Alberta has a surplus of, $130 billion in oil and gas, and that's their, God bless them, good for them. And as for Quebec, I always support Quebec as well. But I'm talking about the electricity that powers 1.5 million homes and keeps companies and businesses open down in Michigan, down in New York, and over in Wisconsin. I was very, very clear on that.
Last reporter.
Hi, Premier Siobhan Morris, CTV News. Can you explain a little how the Ontario Core banner works, practically speaking, and how that might help rather than groups sort of trying to fill holes individually?
I'm going to pass this over to the minister, and I don't know if the deputy minister's here too, but they should both maybe come up and explain it. They've just done an incredible job, and any one of these great organizations is welcome to speak to. But because just the other week when people are stuck up in Gravenhurst, it was kind of a trial run, but man, did they perform. I'm so proud of what they've done.
Hi, Siobhan. Think of Ontario Core as that the structure, the leadership. They set the cadence. They get the call. Here's what's needed where. Here, we need resources, supplies, tools. Our Ontario Corps partners, whether it's Team Rubicon, Global Medics, Salvation Army, they're all here today, Feed Ontario. They now deploy what they need based on experience, training, the skill sets they have to say this is what we need in a time of need. And they deploy those in concert with the Provincial Emergency Operations Center.
Last question.
I'll ask the Premier. Oh, I don't know if the Deputy Minister wanted to come. You're good? Okay. Question for the Premier. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
You introduced in the final few days, or your government did, some really key pieces of legislation, including the encampment one yesterday.
Yes.
Why then is the government not returning, or the legislature not returning until March 3rd, a longer break than usual?
Well, we have a lot of work, and there's a misnomer out there that, you don't work if you're in the legislature. Just ask my two ministers. You work twice as hard when you're outside the legislature. There's a little bit of debate going back and forth, but we have a heavy agenda. We have to get through our agenda, and we're going to continue working for the people of Ontario, focusing on the economy, focusing on the trade deal as well. So we have a tremendous amount of work ahead of us, and I just look forward to a great holiday season. I want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, spend time with your family and friends, and we're going to have a great new year. We're going to have a prosperous new year, and we'll get through this trade deal. It's just maybe a few bumps, as I said, but we have the greatest jurisdiction anywhere in the world is right here in Ontario and Canada, greatest country in the province, anywhere to raise a family, to set up shop, and just have a great quality of life. And I appreciate everything everyone does here in Ontario. Go Team Ontario. Thank you, and God bless. Thanks, everyone.